Hello, I'm Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs. Our nation was founded on the principle that there are certain self-evident truths, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Unfortunately, despite the high-minded ideals behind this statement, the way in which the term all men was defined in the late 18th century has caused immense damage throughout our history. Thankfully, and I believe correctly, it is interpreted today to encompass all of humanity, regardless of race, religion, or creed. Liberty and justice are not only for a select group, they are the birthright of all Americans. Freedom is precious, but often taken for granted, which makes the struggle of those who fought, sacrificed, and sometimes died for this noble cause even more poignant. This community rightfully honors the ideals of great leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and others who prominently fought for the freedom and equality of all citizens. Heroes like Mr. Carter G. Woodson may be more quietly celebrated, but are no less prominent in the history we work to preserve. Woodson was an active promoter of Black education, being only the second African American ever to earn a PhD in history from Harvard University. He recognized the importance of creating awareness of African American contribution to humanity. And he himself left an impressive legacy and is responsible for the creation of the Black History Month that we celebrate now. Black history is American history, and Black History Month is a time for all Americans to learn about the achievements and contributions of African Americans that helped to shape this nation. This month, we must celebrate the plentiful Black history with which Knox County is richly blessed. It might seem like it's been difficult to see how far we've come, but we've come very far, and here are some examples. Like Cal Johnson, for example, who was born into slavery for the McClung family in 1884 in modern-day Farragut. He fought in the Civil War, and after his service, he leased and eventually purchased his own saloon. Johnson served as an alderman on Knoxville City Council from 1883 to 1885 and eventually established what was Knoxville's only thoroughbred horse racing track near Chehaly Park. Though the track is closed and Johnson died in 1925, he has been remembered as a pioneering African-American entrepreneur, politician, and philanthropist. Then there's Carl Cowan, who was the first African-American appointed assistant district attorney in Knox County in the 1950s. He also served as the attorney for the NAACP and challenged segregation in the greater Knoxville area school systems and at the University of Tennessee. As a close friend of Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall, Cowan was also instrumental in the 1954 landmark Supreme Court decision that ended legal racial segregation of American public schools. Alex Haley. Haley was born in 1921 and became the first chief journalist within the United States Coast Guard. After retirement from the Coast Guard, his notable writing career afforded him the opportunity to interview Martin Luther King Jr. and pen the autobiography of Malcolm X. He also wrote the world-renowned, critically acclaimed historical drama, Roots. And it wasn't just men. Sarah Moore Green was one of Knox County's most influential civil rights advocates. The daughter of a former slave, she started her teaching career in a one-room schoolhouse. She made her way to Knoxville when she was 21 and turned her sights to providing preschool education to Black children. Establishing early education at Knoxville City Schools was part of her platform as she campaigned for a position on the city school board, a seat she won, making her the first Black member of the Knoxville Board of Education. And while we're talking about education, we must discuss the storied history of Knoxville College. Founded in 1875, Knoxville College is a historically Black liberal arts college established to educate Knoxville's free Blacks and freed slaves. In the 60s, students from the college, led by two-term student body president Bob Booker, helped end the practice of segregated lunch counters in downtown restaurants by organizing sit-ins. We can celebrate many reputable graduates from the college, including Booker, who later became the first Black Knox County state representative, and James Garfield Beck, an influential community philanthropist. Vernon Jarrett, the first African-American columnist for the Chicago Tribune. Lovey Austin, one of the best female jazz blues pianists of the 1920s. Edith Irby Jones, the first female president of the National Medical Association. Frederick McGee, one of the country's first African-American lawyers. Aaliyah Walker, an American businesswoman credited as being the first self-made female millionaire in the U.S. and one of the first African-American millionaires. And Duke Cumberland of the Harlem Globetrotters, to name just a few. There are so many stories about people and institutions like these throughout Knox County's history. Because of them, we have risen to live out the true meaning of the creed that all men are created equal. I'd be remiss if I also didn't address the historical events of last month when our nation elected the first African-American and female Vice President, Kamala Harris, a woman whose father, less than 100 years ago, would have been denied service in a diner or a seat on a city bus. Regardless of your politics, this is an incredible advancement. In one of her inauguration addresses, she said, "Even in dark times, we not only see what has been, we see what can be. We are undaunted in our belief that we shall overcome." I encourage all Knox County citizens to celebrate this month with pride and offer thanks to those who have worked so hard and sacrificed so much, not only for the Black community, but for all of us.